Video by Earl. I'm going to make a professional photographer out of you before it's all over, buddy. I guarantee you that.
Just turn around and look at me a little bit.
Here we are.
Yeah, there you go.
March 31st, 2017. The last day, the way it looks right now, the last day of broadcasting for the Big WFLI. And as I look through here, come through here, it's memories. Oh my gosh. Memories.
Yep, go slow.
Memories.
I'm following you, buddy.
Hello, friends and neighbors.
Nick Cable, how you doing, sir?
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you.
I've got a professional videographer here.
no,
Earl
we don't
allow people in here with patches.
Ben, get between them two guys.
Pirates. I don't want no pirates in here.
Well, Earl just had surgery.
Be nice.
Surgery. And the good news is he's recovering really good. Where's the volume on here? Do you know where the volume is?
I would say it's the one that's probably,
that's not it. You're a radio guy. I thought you. Hey, where's the volume on that?
you don't need to know. Just get away from it. I haven't seen your driver's license.
Hey, I have a first-class engineering license.
Yeah, I didn't say that.
I'll show it to you.
I said I hadn't seen your driver's license. You can't drive that machine.
When I was a kid, I'm going to say something. I'm going to turn that down just a little bit. But he's got a first-class license too. When I was in high school, I came in here. There was a guy named Bud Bale who was the engineer. So I'm in high school. I haven't even graduated from high school yet. So I come in here. I get to talking to Bud Bale, and I don't know. It was around midnight, and he says, "Well, son, you wanna run it for a while?" I said, "Yeah, I can do it." So he showed me. I pretty well figured it out. So we queued up a couple of records. He said, "I'm going to go back in the back." So I'm here rocking and rolling, baby, from midnight or 12:30 till 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. And so I'm like, oh my God, my dad's going to kill me. I got to go. So I looked around, I put another record on here, and I look back, and he is back here sound asleep. And there's about 10 Falstaff cans, empty Falstaff cans all around him. And he's rolled up in a big blanket. And I'm like, oh my God. So I poked, I said, excuse me, but I need to leave. My dad's going to kill me. So he raises up and he looks at me, he says, "Son, can you run it just a little bit longer?" True story. True story. I swear to God that happened.
Turn that down just a hair. Paul, here, I need to talk to you.
What do you want to know?
Paul, tell me when you came to work at WFLI.
Which time?
Well, first time.
You know, he was in prison for a long time.
Yeah.
But he did.
First time was when the boys were doing country. And I came to work here. And then Al Dick got a hold of the station in Fort Payne. He wanted me to go down there and manage it. So I left. Second time was when they were getting ready to do, he bought JTT. And I managed here and engineered at JTT. And I left then to go where? I forgot.
Out west?
Iowa, didn't you?
Out west?
That was, with Roy Morris, went to Wyoming.
Oh, yeah.
And then I came back and went to work at managing the TV station in Cahutta.
Well, you've been sort of the glue that's held this place together for the last 5 or 6 years.
I didn't say that.
I did.
Oh, well, I
did.
know.
I mean, you answer the phone, you do the billing, you do the logs.
That's right.
You pick the music.
He's the general mangler. General manager.
That's correct.
This has been the right-hand guy here for years and years and years.
Possibly,
Well,
but...
To quote a scripture verse, well done, good faithful servant.
I hope. I'll let you know when I turn it over.
And this is Evan Stone. Evan, tell me about when you worked at WFLI.
Well, I'll tell you a quick thing, and I've got a similar type story as Ben did. My cousin, of course you know him, Gwen Cofield. When I was 6 and 7 years old, he used to bring me here on Sunday morning in the early 70s. He would play the albums, and as I grew to 8, 9, 10 years old, he would sit in the newsroom and I would run the board on Sunday morning. Gwen's wife, Ada, got sick one Sunday morning and he had to leave. And I'd been doing basically everything, 9, 10 years old. Joe comes out here, and Gwen says, I've got to go.
Joe Poteet.
Joe Poteet. And Gwen says, now he knows everything to do. Whatever, you know, he can do it. I'll leave him here and come back and get him. And he said, man, it's okay with me. So Joe, right here, backed up on a stool with a pipe. And I ran, the first time I was ever on the air here, I was 11 years old. And I had to say one thing at 11 o'clock on Sunday morning. I had to say, by the remote facilities at WFLI, we take you to the Red Bank Baptist Church. That's the first time. And I was 11, so that's 1976.
Well, you've done good because you're a successful broadcaster in Trenton, Georgia now.
Well, we've done well, and then I actually worked here in the early '80s and '81, I guess, when it was country. '80, when it was country. I worked here for about a year and a half, almost 2 years.
Wasn't it a magical thing when you turned on that microphone?
Oh, it sounded
was
real.
just
Well, to be here, and I listened, grew up listening to the station.
Yeah.
Has it ever gotten not to be a magical
No,
thing?
no,
No.
no, never.
How long have you been in the business?
Oh.
I mean, you know, you sit down in one of those things and it looks impressive, but it's nothing but a bunch of volume controls and off and on
But
switches.
see, you got to remember, back then, you didn't have all the other media.
Oh, I know.
All right, Paul, give me your best station break.
For what?
Jetfly, WFLI.
Oh, I don't have a great one. It's just 1070.
Well, give me one.
AM 1070 WFLI, Lookout Mountain, Chattanooga.
There you go.
Now, Evan, give me your best station break.
Do the Jets.
Yeah.
I don't fly.
Well, WFLI, Lookout Mountain, Chattanooga.
And then,
Very good, Wing.
being you,
Jetfly, WFLI. Now on we go with the musical show on down beat, 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 beat.
And that's showing your age. He said, Don't touch it. So I had to take a broom handle and pop that thing off. Play on.
This is a classic transmitter. This thing is a World War II era. This transmitter goes back to World War II, and this is a water-cooled transmitter. This other section up here is water-cooled. Can you imagine? They pumped water through this transmitter to keep it cool. And here you have, if you think about it, you've got 50,000 watts going in one section, and it's loaded with water on the other end of it. And I was always nervous about walking back here, knowing that you had water and 50,000 watts in about this much proximity of each other. It's amazing. They don't have water-cooled transmitters anymore.
I understand this transmitter came from WTOP in Washington, big station.
Yeah, I know it's a World War II vintage, originally the original part. And boy, I tell you, this thing at one time was just one awesome transmitter. They don't make these anymore. I guarantee you that. Let me check. There you go. See the difference?
Max, tell me when you came to WFLI.
Let me tell you, many years ago, it was about 1976.
Speak up a little bit, Mike.
1976. But I listened from the time I was this tall. Some people would say that's not a whole lot of difference. But I can remember when I used to. I can remember when I used to stand over at the window to the control room with my nose up against it, watching Tommy Jack and Jimmy Bird, some of the other guys that worked here, thinking, dang, I got to do that. And so when I got out of high school, I went to a little school and got into radio.
Were you the one that introduced us to Squirrely Shirley?
I'm sure I wasn't. I might have been the only one that was brave enough to bring up the subject.
Ben, get in there with your old buddy Max.
The reason I say that is Squirrely Shirley and I had a telephone relationship, and that was all.
What was that?
she'd call and I'd.
So he says.
You know me, Ben.
You were here for basically 4-hour shows. How much of that time did you spend on the phone?
4 hours, 15 minutes.
I will have to say that Max has always pretty much walked the straight and narrow. Yeah, I'll have to say that.
I have, and I'm proud of that.
Yeah. Okay.
There've been a couple of little minor detours along the way, but for the most part,
Usually I got slapped back into line pretty quick.
Good job, Max. Good job. You're still doing it, aren't you?
Yes, I'm working for Cumulus Radio now, which owns WGOW and KZ106, WGOW AM, and Nash Icon.
You just can't get it out of your blood.
Can't get it out of my blood. I told somebody the other day I came back just in time. I'm
They
gonna try
have
to
rehab for that.
I'm gonna try to make the Tennessee Radio Hall of Fame before I die.
Have you got a Johnny Eagle memory?
I've got several Johnny Eagle memories.
get a little closer.
Have you got a Johnny Eagle memory you can tell me?
You know, when I was here, Johnny was kind of like the father figure. I think he was probably the father figure for a lot of the other guys. We call him Tommy Jet's daddy, just for the fun of it. But he kind of kept a lot of us out of trouble and walking the straight and narrow, and those kind of things. And he always took care of us, but I really don't, I can remember him going to get Mr. Benns and King a time or two, you know, bringing them home. But other than that, I don't have anything really that I can share. If I did, I'd already written a book about it.
Let's see, can you give me your name and the general years that you were here?
Oh, okay, Wade Brock, and I was here from summer of '61 till the spring of '64.
How did you get interested in WFLI, Mr. Brock?
I had got my first class ticket while in high school, and just looking for a radio station. Of course, this was most popular. That's where I wanted to try to go.
Now, you knew the Brennan and Benns families, didn't you?
No, not at that time. I didn't.
Did you work for another one of their properties?
I worked relief at one at WBOK Birmingham. Wait a minute.
It's all right, we get that out.
Okay.
What was your job here?
Engineer primarily, and I did a disc jockey from midnight till 6 at night. Back then we worked 6 days a week as standard, and got paid for 60 hours a week.
So you knew all of the early announcers that were very popular, Dale Anthony, Tommy
yes.
Jett, and Johnny Eagle.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
You have a memory that you can share with us?
well, somebody said don't push any buttons out here. Probably my second. I started out working just weekends. About my second weekend, I'd never met Bill Benns, the son, and he was here. He dressed in a t-shirt, old pants, and he came in wanting to operate the board. He says, I work at the gas station. I let people pump their gas if they want to, so I should be able to operate and play the records. I wouldn't let him, and I lost track of him, looked out, and he was out here at the transmitter opening doors. Of course, he knew the doors are interlocked, but he knew which doors didn't have interlocks, so he could open them. So he's opening it and sticking his hand inside.
That's a good story.
Wait. Now, what do you mean? What do you mean that Bill Miller used to be liberal? He's still liberal.
No,
Is he still conservative or what?
He was liberal and I was conservative, and we'd argue and mess around. And then 20 years, 30 years goes by, and I become more liberal and he becomes a conservative. And so, but now we're both conservative, I think.
No, I'm back to being liberal again. I saw the light.
Did you? Well, maybe you seeing something that your old dad ain't seeing.
I kept saying this Tea Party. I was actually 10 years ago. I was a registered Republican,
And then this Tea Party took over the Republican Party.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And the weirdos had taken over the Democratic Party, but I thought, well, I was going to be a weirdo. I fit better over there.
Yeah. I think I do too. I ain't either one. I just want to get to Obama.
Now wait, I gotta edit that out of here. I can't put that in there.
The hell you
gotta
can't.
I want to give Tommy something to talk about for the rest of the day.
Oh, yeah.
His talking points are, they're kind of getting low.
Is this all of them?
Take your glasses off and look at it, Tommy. That's one. It's 1962.
1962, wow.
Because in June of 61, you weren't here. So you didn't make the book in 62.
I mean, in 61.
Oh, this is 60.
This is 62. After that, they stopped putting names on it.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Maybe 63 or 64. But then they just named the show.
Well, if it doesn't have his name in it, he doesn't want it. He doesn't want a copy.
In 63,
I wanted one.
well, in 63,
Thank you.
what it said was, it said the Ed and Jet show in 63.
There wasn't no Ed and Jet show.
There was in the book.
See, it's got, there we go. Let's see, that's 1 o'clock.
I did an afternoon drive.
you'll knock him out,
I
I'll
went
get
there at 3 o'clock and didn't get off for 9.
Well, not in 62 you didn't.
No.
So we're talking to Johnny Eagle now. Now, Johnny, you actually lived here at the station for a while, right?
For about 30 days or
Okay, and what do they call it? The Ed, what was it? The motel?
Well, you pan right over here, and that right up through there used to be the Bud Bell Motel.
The Bud Bell Motel.
Bud Bell.
And he actually lived. Yeah.
He was an engineer, and he was when he was here. That's where he stayed.
Okay.
Tommy Jet occupied that quarters for a while as well.
Okay. And he lived here for what, 2 years or so?
Oh, I don't know how long he lived here, but
Let's go back and look at the Bud Bell Motel.
All right.
Can you? This is actually living quarters at the station, right?
Yeah.
And no one has been in here for a while, I guess.
well, now they've been here to live here, no. But see, that was the shower.
Okay, had a shower.
Let's see if I can find a light switch here.
May not work.
No. No.
Well, that's a bathroom.
There was a bed in here, and it had its own closet.
Okay.
See, hang up your clothes,
Okay.
stuff right there.
But it was originally designed to be the PD's office.
Right.
So, and then that goes into the engineering room.
Okay. So this is
Of course, the engineer could have occupied this as well. That's why Bud Bell was an engineer. That's why he was here.
And he just lived here.
Yeah.
Now Ron Arnold lived here for a while, right? Didn't he live here for a while too?
I'm not sure about that. He may have. He may have. I'm sure that just about everybody has spent at least one night in this room. Or an afternoon.
Ed Gale here.
Ed, tell me what years you worked at WFLI.
I worked from January 20th, 1961 till sometime in November 1965, 4 years.
What was it like working with Tommy Jet?
Tommy was just a ball of fun, I tell you, like a little fuzzy puppy. I mean, everybody loved him, you know.
What was it like working with Dale Anthony?
Dale Anthony was a star, there's no doubt about it. He was a star, and he'd tell you he was a star. But he was a pretty good guy, and he had good ratings in the morning against Luther, if you can have good ratings against Luther.
Yeah, he did.
Now tell me about Johnny Eagle.
Johnny Eagle.
Don't lie.
Everybody loved Johnny Swooping Eagle, no doubt about it. He was funny, or he thought he was funny when he first came here. He had worked overseas, quote, at Hawaii. And and he would say things like, "Take a chance," Columbus did, and a couple of us took him over the corner and talked to him and got him straightened out. Johnny's a genuine good guy.
What caused you to leave radio and go into TV?
Money. In a word, money.
Pure and simple, huh?
Radio is very, very fun to work in, but the money just wasn't there. So I went to Channel 9 and worked.
Yeah, I can identify with that.
I worked a total of 53 years in broadcasting.
Let's see, now you and Irwin O'Connor are cousins?
Yeah, Erwin O'Connor worked, I guess it was at WAPO. Yeah. And he used to do the stuff for the National Guard. PFC Erwin C. O'Connor with the news.
Good old days.
Yeah, good old days, Earl.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you, Earl.
Only connection I have is when I was a teenager, I used to listen to FLI all the time, went to all the remotes, Tommy Jett, Johnny Eagle, all of them were my idols. So, and now after that, a little later, Hey Earl was my idol. And
Hey Earl.
It's not gone anywhere yet. We're still rocking here today.
Still rocking.
Yeah.
This is my favorite judge right here, Judge Russell Bean, and I love him and consider him a dear, close friend.
We may have to take a knife and be blood brothers one of these days.
I know it. We may have to do it.
Yeah.
Tommy, scoot in there real close so I can get you. I need to get you out of that light.
We need to get you on the video.
No.
I'm going to hold you a little later.
No. All right. Russell, what are some of the songs that Tommy used to play for you?
Oh man, you're really testing me there. Let's see. What was the one, the Sugar Shack? I remember that all the time because they had the Sugar Shack up in Cleveland or something. Yeah, so you played that. Somebody said one time, somebody called and said, if y'all play the Sugar Shack again, I'm going to come out there and blow the station up. But there was a lot of good memories. All those remotes. We had one remote just right over here, close by that I remember you driving into, and it was like Elvis pulling up when Tommy came in, and everybody crowded around him. I wish we'd had the videos we got now back then. Of course,
He played a lot of Elvis.
but you and I haven't changed a bit.
Nah, we look the same.
Yeah, he did play all of Elvis, and of course Elvis was so big back then. And what was your favorite Elvis song, Tommy?
It's now or never.
And what was his favorite song that he sang?
Heartbreak Hotel.
Heartbreak Hotel. And it's now or never. Come home.
Who's this?
Mike King.
Getting younger.
Mike King. Mike, tell me what it was like working for Johnny Eagle, please.
Every day was a new experience.
Did he ever fire you?
Now, Mr. Benns was famous for that.
No, Johnny never did fire me. I don't think he ever fired anybody.
I don't know.
Was he important here at the radio station?
Johnny,
Was Johnny an important person of WFLI?
he was the program director, the station manager, the general manager, and would have been chief engineer, but he couldn't find the transmitter room.
And the janitor.
What years did you work here, Mike?
64 to 68.
I got him hired, Earl.
And you'd had some broadcast experience before WFLI, right?
Radio school in Nashville.
So you came here fairly green?
School. Yeah.
Yeah.
Came down, auditioned, and got hired, I guess the same day.
Did you do Tommy Jett's News?
When he had let me.
Tommy didn't do his own news, did he?
Tommy would do the same spot somewhere until they wore it out. And just throw it away.
Yeah, then throw it away.
So get King in here, he can read another spot.
Exactly.
Is it true that he mispronounced Khrushchev's name one time?
Well,
Who, Tommy?
Yeah.
I don't know, did he? Khrushchev.
Somebody told me that he mispronounced Khrushchev's name one time. I figured you'd know.
He was the one that had somebody's prostitute gland removed.
Yeah.
Now, what's about this?
I don't remember who it was. Somebody
one's
famous.
prostate, it came out prostitute, didn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, but you have to tell him about Tommy when he read the news and it came up. What was the story? Someone got hit downtown.
No, it was a pedestrian.
He said some Presbyterian got hit downtown. You remember that?
About that, yeah.
And so Johnny Eagle called and said, Tommy, how did you know that man's religion? He said, Tommy said, what do you mean? He said, well, you just said that some Presbyterian got run over downtown. And Tommy says, I don't understand. He said, Tommy, could it be a pedestrian that you were talking about?
Could have been.
Mike, do you miss radio?
No. I don't even listen to it
I
anymore.
don't either.
Why?
Communist.
45 years is long enough. Don't you
I'm
think?
still on.
Well, me too. At least you can do some lessons.
What are you doing, Earl? Filming all this?
Well, I'm Ben Cagle's assistant.
Radio's gone.
He's
I heard feedback on that last museum.
He's trying to.
All over the place.
Yeah,
It was on what, Facebook or something?
yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to get.
All right, Mike, give me a big smile now.
I'm standing in the way, Earl.
Yeah. Mike, how does it feel to come back to WFLI?
It's like I've never been gone. I worked here 3 different times. I worked for the Bennses 4 times. 5 times. I worked in the TV station in North Georgia, the little TV station over here at East Chattanooga, and I worked here 3 times.
Did they pay you good?
Yeah, pretty good. I didn't complain.
Not as much as you're worth, though.
No, nobody ever got paid as much as you'd like to get paid.
Yeah. Well, you know that you're a TV, radio, news legend in this area, don't you know that?
Oh, let's don't get into that.
I remember this.
Let me interview this young man right here.
There's my favorite WD. What do you think about this, Earl? Now that
Oh, boy.
WDO-DAM went off the air, how long ago?
Oh, a long time. Now,
When you left, they went downhill. They went
I'll tell you, this is Rick Govan. Rick, what years were you here at WFLI?
I was here from 1964 through 1969. 5 years.
I listened to you on weekends when I was, I believe, 8 or 9 years old.
Yeah, right.
How did you get your job here?
I got my job because I was at the University of Chattanooga and went to WDXB to try to get on, and Jerry Langer said, we don't have anybody, we don't have any, there's Rick Shaw. We don't have any openings, but he called Johnny, and I came out here, and Johnny put me on weekends, and after a couple of years, I went full time.
What were some of the songs that were popular when you were here?
Oh, let's see. Elvis, the Beatles, Motown. It was a great area, a great era. You had Motown, you had the British invasion.
When the Beatles came along, he became Ringo Man.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So Earl, let's turn the camera and the tables around.
No, this is WFLI day. I've already had my
but
time.
you are the radio man in Chattanooga.
No. Earl, tell us about what you know about FLI.
Well, I used to listen to WFLI.
When you were a baby?
When I was a baby, yeah. I listened to Rick Govan when I was 8 or 9 years old. Not really. He and I think, are about the same age. He was on weekends here at WFLI while I was on weekends at WDOD. But he had all the power and all the girls. And I had the little old ladies that used to bring cookies and things like that over there at the radio station.
When you ask everybody what kind of music did they play, tell them what kind of music you played.
Loretta Lynn. The first song that I played was Blue Kentucky Girl by Loretta Lynn.
You remember that?
I remember that. And Warner Mac, The Bridge Washed Out, and I Can't Swim, and My Baby's on the Other Side.
Best song Loretta Lynn had was You Don't Want to Go to Fifth City.
Yeah. And I'll tell you a little story. There was a popular song by Roy Drusky and Priscilla Mitchell. And somebody called up and said, Earl, would you flip over Mr. Peters? That was the name of the song. Yes, Mr. Peters. And I said, no, this is not my day for music.
That's good. All right, well, you got a lot of...
that I ever watched.
I remember the first song I played on WFLI.
What was your first song?
Bobby Vinton, Mr. Lowe.
Yeah, that's a good song.
Yeah.
Hey, Earl, what are the characters that you knew at FLI? Who all did you know that were announcers there? You've already mentioned you knew Rick.
Yeah, Dale Anthony, and of course Johnny Eagle and Tommy Jett. Tommy was on, I think, in the afternoon to early evenings, and I don't know who was on at night, but Bud Bell, I met Bud, and of course I knew Mike King. Mike's probably the most respected newsman, radio newsman to ever come along in Chattanooga.
There's Mike King right over there.
I've talked to Mike a while ago, and Mike said it was true. You know, Mike he never got a story wrong.
Didn't have any of this fake news they have today.
No fake news. And of course, Mike went on to television, and when Mort Boyd was killed, Mike took over from Mort Boyd, and I think they had some of the highest numbers in the history of the station from Mike King, and he got his start right here at WFLI.
You ought to hear the story Mike King tells about when he was on the air during election night. You remember that story?
Yeah. That's another one of Ben Cagel's videos. That's a good story.
Well, you might get it from him here in a minute.
Yeah.
So, Judge Bean, tell us about yourself.
Well, he's already had me on here, and the only thing I was a listener, and I was a groupie.
Did you call in and request records?
I did. I called in. We sure did. And I went.
I've got a story about WFLI. They were running a contest one time, and one time, and it was to name something about music. I don't know what it was, but anyway, I sent in an answer, and they must have recognized my name or something because they sent me 2 LPs back. They were going to dinner. My coloring book by Kitty Calvin. I never will forget that. But I guess they figured, well, somebody else from another radio station didn't ring the contest.
Get in there with us.
Now that's enough. That's enough of me. That's enough of me.
Well, you got
This can be.
Oh my gosh! Hey, you put lipstick on your head there.
Now this is the famous Chip Chapman right here. Come here, Chip.
Chip.
Yeah. Tell me about your memories of WFLI.
Yeah, you know where his memories were. He's a little baby.
I wasn't a little baby, I was a tall baby.
You were, yes.
That was just such an incredible station. Years. I was your hero. Max O'Brien was my hero, and Ben Cagle was my hero.
Wow, you were hurting.
Was my hero.
Woo. He's got you on video for that now.
It was an incredible radio station.
There you are. I'll let you turn it off. I didn't know.
Thank you, Earl.
Now, I think
It's a good station, though. Stay with it, it'll be a lot longer than we were.
Okay, I got you, Bill. I got you, man. I got you. You still got your old. All right.
I don't think I ever got it.
They didn't get you one. Rick Sharp donated this to me, and I gladly took it. This is the first time I've ever worn it. So what's the story on the coat now?
I think this is the coat that the guys wore when they played the Harlem Globetrotters. I think they all got matching jackets.
That's where I've seen that.
Yep, about 1969, 1970. And 5 or 6 years ago, Rick Sharp met me in an event, and he said, come out, I got something for you. And he gave me this, and I just had it hanging in the closet for all these years, and I thought today'd be a good day to wear it.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is the famous Bill Miller. Bill, what years were you here at WFLI?
I came here in December of 1968. I was 18 years old and started as a weekender. Did Sunday afternoons from noon till 6. At noon, I followed, I think it was J. Basil Mull's singing convention, and I counted down the top 20 hit songs of the week. The Flying 20 survey.
What were some of the popular songs when you were here?
Number 1 song the week I came was Crimson and Clover. Tommy James and Sean Bell. Over and over. And we played it over and over. And I think probably, I don't remember the other exact tunes, but in that era we had Tyrone Davis, Can I Change My Mind? David, what were the other big hits in December 1968?
December 1968. Well, you said Crimson and Clover, The Boxer by Simon and Garfunkel, Bill Be Up Buttercup by the Foundations, Jerry Butler had one called Only the Strong Survive. Those are the ones that pop into
Use a minute list.
out of my no. I got to do my homework. I'm still doing radio.
Right? Yeah,
I got to know that stuff.
Creedence Clearwater was big at the time.
Proud Mary.
Tell me a Tommy Jet story.
Statute of limitations is out, I guess, for everything. Tommy Jet. Well, I was 18 and Tommy Jet was about 28. And Tommy had this big booth do. And he was single and he attracted a lot of women. And so I would always go out with Tommy Jet because there would always be 3, 4, 5 young women who were interested in getting together with Tommy. And he couldn't handle more than one at a time, so I went out with him so I could meet girls. And it worked.
Anything else about Jet Fly you remember you want to share?
Let's see. Keeps coming back to that old statute of limitations. Give me a few minutes to think, Earl, and I'll come up with a good one.
Okay.
That won't embarrass anyone.
Well, it's good that you're part of this history.
When I came here, Dale Anthony did mornings, Ringo Starr, Tommy Jet did middays, Mike Murray did afternoons, and I think Tommy came back and did a nighttime show, and Barry Jensen did all nights. And there was another weekend, another part-timer. I don't remember who it was. And then Joe Fred Petit was our engineer, and Bud Bell was an engineer, and Johnny Eagle was the station manager.
Joe doesn't get as much credit as he really deserved because he was the custodian of that 50,000 watt transmitter, which was water cooled.
It was old when it came on the air. I think that's about a 1940-41 model, and so Jet Fly came on the air at 61. That transmitter came from WTOP, Washington, D.C. It was, considering the technology of back in those days, it was a very thin signal. It wasn't a big rounded signal. It wasn't a very good sound, except for transistor radios. It sounded great on transistor radios at the beach. Joe did keep it going. We didn't have a lot of new equipment. We had a lot of old equipment. Joe kept it running condition, and he was always smoking his pipe, and he was good for some great lines. We were kind of rough on the equipment because we were young and didn't treat the equipment as we should probably. And I remember one of his frequent lines was something broke down. We would say, "Joe, the turntable doesn't work," for example, at production. And he would take his pipe out of his mouth and he would say, "Well, if I fix it, you boys will just tear it up again."
Rick, tell me what years you were here at WFLI.
Oh, wow. When was I here, Carol? Long time ago. Yeah.
60s?
60s, yeah.
60s. Was this the first station where you worked?
No, I've been working in Florida and Key West, actually, for a few years.
How did you find out about the job here?
I went in to put an ad in the paper looking for a job and ran into Nick Smith, and they said, "We need a guy at Fly right now." So I came to Fly, and there we were.
Had a good time here?
Yeah, it was really interesting. And I worked with Dale Anthony, so it had to be interesting.
You got a Tommy Jet story?
Tommy, I didn't see Tommy very much. Tommy worked in the afternoon, I was there in the mornings.
Okay. How do you feel about the station going dark? This is the second station in Chattanooga to go dark.
It's sad, but I guess AMs are almost a thing of the past, unfortunately.
So let me explain this to you, Leslie.
Thank you.
Growing up in the 60s and 70s, AM radio was all you had, really. There were a few FM stations around, but AM dominated. And this was when music was really getting good. Rock and roll had come along, you had the Beatles, the Stones, the Supremes.
I know them.
The British Invasion, Motown, Mamas and the Papas, all these people. It was just a great creative time for music. And it was just a perfect storm. WFLI signed on the air in 1961. It had 10,000 watts, which was a lot of power. Later increased to 50,000 watts, which is a ginormous amount of power. So it dominated the teen market at a time when rock and roll was really coming alive.
So cool.
And all these, my kids, for example, are in their 20s, and they grew up listening to the same songs I grew up listening to because it has such a great staying power. So the personalities who are on WFLI, many of them who are here in the building today, are pretty much provided the soundtrack to our generation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sitting here thinking as you're talking, WKRP, movies that feature that era.
American Graffiti.
American Graffiti. This is what it was like here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was, DJs were rock stars. They were as popular, as well known in the communities as the artists that would come. I know I've seen and heard stories of like Tommy Jett introducing some of the spectacular bands. And
Let me tell Leslie about the spectacular. Yeah.
Okay, I'm liking like all these visuals coming
Here's
to
the
my
thing.
mind.
Imagine, Leslie, that you heard an announcement for a concert coming to Chattanooga next
Okay,
month
I'm imagining.
with Usher, Katy Perry,
Okay.
let's say
One Direction,
Ed
all of
Sheeran,
those,
One
yeah.
Direction.
Oh, I love Ed Sheeran.
You know, think of the 5 or 6 biggest acts in the business right now. Adele. I mean, all of them coming to Chattanooga the same night
Very cool. I
on
would
the
like
same stage, and admission $5.
No.
See, that's not going to happen.
No.
But back in the 60s and early 70s here, the hottest acts, all the acts who were on Billboard's Top 10, came to Memorial Auditorium twice
Really?
a year on one stage, admission $250.
Oh my gosh.
And the
I can't
station
believe that.
sponsor that.
Oh,
So
that's awesome.
it's just kind of
The
like
Who
mind-blowing.
was on one of those bills, right?
Herman's Hermits, Paul Revere and the Raiders.
All on the same bill.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So that's the impact the station had.
Wow.
Yeah.
So do you remember some like rock star stories? Were you kind of a rock star here in DC?
Was I? No,
Yeah.
I was a rock star.
Probably was.
I came along a little late. I was here, I was a teenager, but growing up, this was the station that I idolized. It was
So
like,
cool.
can I, you know, if what could be better than being on the air at WFLI? And I would be at home like lots of other kids playing records, pretending I was on the radio. And so when I was 18, that came true. I got to be here and worked a year and a half here. And by that time, Tommy Jett and some of the legends of the 60s had already moved on to other stations. But it was like a dream come true for me to be sitting in the same chair, you know, talking with the same microphone, playing with these same dials that all these guys I'd grown up idolizing.
Hey,
had
Davey,
worked
I'm
on.
going to have to take your seat for a couple
Paul's got to do something here for a second.
ID time.
Y'all can have it back and just
No, yeah.
We're actually doing stuff.
Yeah, let's watch. Let's see what we're going to see what you're doing.
Good to see you, Paul.
Okay.
And then we'll be good for an hour, another hour.
Something's happening here. What's happening?
Okay.
What are we doing?
I can tell you what's happening.
Okay.
Hold on.
Paul White runs
You
the
see,
place.
you see that little thing up there that says 5642?
See it.
Well, at 5933, it stops.
Oh my goodness.
There ain't nothing there.
You hear that?
So we don't, you
All right.
can't sell silence on radio.
No.
Nobody will pay for a silent radio station. So we're gonna make sure it don't go silent.
Okay.
However,
That's important.
now, did somebody put my CD in?
I didn't touch it, I swear.
I didn't touch it.
It's okay. The player was off. I believe Cagle done.
Oh, come on now.
I do.
Back off.
He's got a guilty face.
He does.
David Carroll was the one in the chair. Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
He did turn around.
Got to look at the facts.
Now I know it's ready.
It's a great song.
Push the button for you.
Hear it.
No.
Come on, Paul.
No.
I spent a year and a half here saying, what does this button do?
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to get you a good shot of that. Ooh, isn't that nice?
We're going to be back on.
So Paul,
Yes, ma'am.
are you sad today?
Am I what?
Are you sad? Is this a sad day?
He's never
Is this
sad,
a
no.
happy day, or what?
I'll answer that question after I get it changed.
Okay, I understand.
You know where this sign came from? From the back of the taxis all over town.
Like much because
Why don't we put it behind Barry there?
is it Alice? Like,
Remember those taxis?
There's will this
Yes.
work here?
We started in radio.
yeah.
Shelf back there.
19.
That would be a good backdrop.
The contest was with schools, and the school that collected the most bottle caps got tickets to one of our jet fly spectaculars.
Okay.
The entire student body.
Oh, fun. That's
There was
really
about
cool.
I don't remember which school won, but that encompassed around 2,500
Okay.
students. Anyway, we had no place to put the bottle caps, and when it was all over with, there were millions of bottle caps.
Oh.
Because those kids really went after
They took
getting
it
bottle
seriously.
caps.
Yeah.
So
I don't know
just dumped
whose
them in the
idea.
parking
I don't
lot?
know whose idea it was, but they were going to pave the parking lot. So we put underneath all that pavement out there are millions of RC bottle caps.
That's really cool.
A solution
I
was
love
found.
that story. Very cool.
David and I were trying to tell Leslie about the spectaculars. What were those like?
Yeah.
Because you were there.
Those were probably the most fun that I had here at the radio station.
What happened? What went on?
Well, the first show we put on had 9 acts. Have you ever been to a concert in an auditorium with 9 acts?
Never in an auditorium. The only thing I can compare it to is like festivals.
Yeah.
But not in an auditorium.
Yeah. Well, we had 9 acts on the first show. We had no idea. The show was never, they were never meant to make money. They were meant
For the people.
for the people. Right.
Awesome.
And to
Station promotion. Isn't it?
Station promotion. But of all the shows we put them on, and we went from 1965 to 1972, and there was only one that lost money out of all of them, even though the ticket prices were $2.50 and $3.
Can you imagine?
So,
now it'd
but
be like $300 or more.
the first show we put on was in March 19th, 1965. And those 9 acts, and all the tickets were sold except for about 1,000 or 1,500 prior to show. Chattanooga is notorious for walk-up.
Definitely.
Even
Still.
back then. Huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
even back then. Anyway, when the doors opened, the people came in, and before we knew it, it was sold out. And according to the officials at that time, we turned away over 2,000 people to go to that show. Well, a gentleman by the name of Redding ran the Martin Theaters downtown at that time. And he called me up on Monday morning and said, I want to thank you for having that show because the overflow came to the movies.
Oh, that's cool.
They were already downtown, so they might as well go to the movies.
Very cool.
But from that point on, we always had 2 shows, one at 5:30 and one at 9 o'clock.
Okay.
Because you turn away that many people.
So who were some of the acts?
Well, the most popular act that we ever had here was Paul Revere and the Raiders.
Okay.
I mean, they were just unbelievable. And I got a quick story about that.
Okay.
We had them booked to play here. I don't remember, it was 67 or 68, somewhere along in there. And I had the contract, everything was cool, and then all of a sudden I was notified that I didn't have a legitimate contract, that they were playing in Atlanta that day.
Oh no.
And that's
You feel nervous?
exactly what I said. So I hop in a car and I drive to Atlanta to meet with Paul to let him know, and they were concerned that radio stations would say they were going to be coming and all that.
Promoting it.
Right, just
Yeah.
to get them there.
Oh, that's not cool.
And
yeah.
so anyway, I flew down there to talk. No, I mean I drove down there to talk to them, and he said, "Well, let's see if we can figure something out because we are 100 miles away." Well, at the time, Mr. Benns' partner owned a Learjet International in Atlanta.
Nice.
And he rented out those small jet planes, and they had never flown in one.
The band.
Right. So he sent the road guy, whose name was Hoss, by the way, up to Chattanooga to bring all the equipment up there. Because they were already using promotional equipment there in Atlanta. So he sends all the equipment up here to set up. We arranged for the airplane and for escort service in Atlanta and escort service here. So they played in Atlanta at 3:30. They hopped on a plane, they flew up here and opened our show at 5:30.
Awesome. Rock stars.
They weren't scheduled to open the show, but when Paul came in, he said, "Let's so we get back," because they had another show in Atlanta at 8 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
So he said, let us just go on first. So, I mean,
Yeah, whatever you want.
you talk about You talk about bringing the house down. It was something
That's
else.
awesome. Did you get to go on the jet with them?
No.
Tell
I
me
didn't.
you did. Man,
No,
What,
I didn't.
what was the whole era like? Because everything was new.
it's different.
Right? I mean, rock and roll was new. These kinds of concerts were new.
Bands getting on jets, partying.
Radio, all of that was new. What was that like?
Man, you have when you're going through something like that, you have no idea of what you're going through. It's fun, you love it,
Busy.
and it was just, it was an exciting time as far as I was concerned.
It's so different now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have laws and stuff now.
Ugh. Authority. Who likes that?
Yeah, they do.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so that time, how long do you think that time really lasted? When rock and roll and the radio business was like that and it was so exciting. You know, like, you say like a decade or two? What do you think?
Well, no, FLI enjoyed 20 years.
20 years.
From 1961 to 1980.
Mm-hmm.
And in 1980, KZ 106 came on the air, FM, and just blew FLI right out of the water. Well, Mr. Benns said, well, let's just go country. So we go country. DOD was the big station then, the country station.
Okay.
And FLI blew them out of the water. Well, they turned around and did their FM, and there went FLI again.
Became competition.
So when FM took over, that was it.
That was it. Cool story.
TJ the DJ. The man. My close personal friend. Do we have you next?
It was nice to hear
Awesome.
stories. I wish I would have been here with you. Wish I would have been around. I always say that. I would have done much better back then.
It was fun. It was fun.
Johnny, could you comment about the good old days when you won a case of beer? All you did was you'd pull up to the station. There was no IDs checked.
I love it.
And they would keep the beer, not a certificate for the beer. They would keep like 80 cases of beer in the side building. You pull up out front, and they would put the beer in the trunk. So,
the good old
What
days.
happened to that? That's a great business right there.
Why aren't we doing that?
You guys gave it away. To get in to see Bobby Q Day, you had to bring him a cigarette. Which I did.
I like it.
I know, it's the truth.
Bobby Q Day story.
Well, when I started in radio, I started at a little radio station in Honolulu called KIKI.
Nice.
And I didn't know you couldn't do what you just got through saying. So I was a smoker then. I ran out of cigarettes. So there was a bunch of promotional records laying around, and I knew they were never going to play them. So I picked them up and said something on the air about I was out of cigarettes. And I'd get 5 records here for a pack of cigarettes.
Yeah.
And this guy brought me cigarettes. I gave him the records, but I also gave away my job. That was my first.
Oh, no.
The owner of the station called up and said, "You can't do that. You're out of here." So,
Could have given a
but that was
warning.
after midnight, man.
Now that I
was
brought
3
it
o'clock
up-
in the morning.
I used to do that with cappuccino. Like when I worked at the radio station, I'd be like, whoever brings me a cappuccino, I'd be like behind there in the news area.
Well, since I brought it up, that's what Bobby Q Day would do. He would, on the radio, would say, you know, Ellis, you better bring me something to eat, or I'm telling your wife where you really are.
That's hilarious.
Anyway,
Good time.
thank you so
Thank
much.
you
All right.
so much.
Good.
All right.
Bobby Q Day.
Thank you, Johnny. Good job, man. Good job.
Just started.
Go Van.
Nice to meet you.
I was Ringo Van.
Ringo. Okay, that's fun.
So we've had Johnny Eagle, Tommy, and now you. You guys were
David Carroll.
David.
Carroll.
We've
Good old
had
David
David.
Carroll.
You guys were. That's
The dream team.
The dream team. The
Tell you
All-Stars.
a story about David Carroll.
Tell us
On a
one.
Sunday afternoon, David, if he were here, he'd tell you exactly the day and the year if he passes by.
I know, he's really good at that.
Okay. And I'm on the air Sunday afternoon. Rick Shaw, who was just here, Rick Sharp, was the engineer. And we had a contest. And this listener won. And he won a record or a t-shirt or something. And his parents drove him up from Bessemer. Is that where he's from? Alabama?
He's from, yeah.
Somewhere down there, Scottsboro.
Yep.
somewhere.
A young David Carroll.
Sand Mountain. He lived on Sand Mountain
13,
somewhere.
14, 15 years old, comes walking in here.
Aw,
So we show him around the station. The kid would never leave. He was just sitting. It was.
He has told that story before.
And then he went. Then he about 2 years later he went to work at my uncle's radio station in South Pittsburgh.
WEPG. I was there 2 days ago.
EP Govan.
Really?
It's named after my uncle, EP Govan. And David would, when he was in high school, would ride his motorcycle over the mountain to
Oh, my
South Pittsburgh
goodness. I
and work
love it.
Sundays at WEPG.
With a leather jacket on?
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
And then I left in '69, and David came here. And when did he say? 71, 2 or 3 or something.
So
Before he became
one of the things I've come to learn is the radio and TV community here in Chattanooga is very, very close. I mean, you guys, well, you're all here, right? I don't know that everybody that's here today
Yeah.
worked here, or maybe they did, but that's an unusual thing, isn't
Yeah.
I'm told it's very unusual. I don't know. I don't have a perspective on it from
Yeah,
other
usually
markets.
separate. Mhm.
But I'll tell you the reason why I think it is here, and you can credit David Carroll for that.
I think David has
He
a lot
is
to
the
do
guy
with
that has been and continues to bring us together. Gary Mack as well.
Yeah,
And
he's
Ben
fun.
Cagle, and Earl, those 4 guys. But David's been the kind of the leader of it, and those other Ben Cagle and Gary and it's kind of great. We used to be competitors.
That's why I brought it up, and I've been
And,
fortunate to have been invited to a couple of the luncheons that
Yeah.
you guys. It
now
truly is remarkable.
And it's so stupid that we were serious competitors. And now we love each other.
It's
Yeah.
like walking
Family.
into a gathering of a liars club in a way. It's just sort of one story after another, but everybody seems to really love each other.
But there's another element too that I think is Luther's presence in the community.
Used to get a standing ovation when he walked in,
but
right?
Luther was just so
Great.
respected by everybody, and so it was.
What was it like working here?
Man, this was. I was telling Lori, my wife, the other day. This was the greatest experience that I ever remember, and I've had some good jobs, some great jobs after I left here. But I came here in college as a freshman in 1964, and heard about originally a weekend. I heard about a weekend opening and got the job, and then worked into full time later. But it was It was like being in a. I was in 2 fraternities, one on campus at the university, then the University of Chattanooga, and one here at WFLI. And at the time I was the young guy, so they were playing tricks on me and and all that kind of stuff. But it was great. It was great.
And a lot of people don't get the opportunity to love their job. Some people don't know what that's like. Those jobs aren't always the ones that pay the most, but it is cool to work at I've worked at radio stations too. It's fun.
For a college kid to work at a 50,000 watt #1 rated radio station.
So cool.
And to participate in those jet fly spectaculars and meet those stars. And
Who were some of your favorites to meet?
well, the story I love to tell is about Leslie Gore. We would
my party.
Yeah, and Judy's Turn to Cry, and I heard her on the radio this morning. The Jet Fly Spectaculars, the DJs would introduce the different acts. So for whatever reason, I was to introduce Leslie Gore. And the way we did it was we would, once you'd introduce someone, you would go out there and then you would hand off and say, and then here's Tommy Jett. So you kind of introduce the next DJ that would come out.
Okay.
So after I introduced Leslie Gore and she sang her set of songs, I went back out to thank her and then introduce whoever the next DJ was to introduce the next act. And as she was walking off, I said, because at the time she was a student at a college in New England somewhere, I've forgotten which college, Smith College or something. And so she's walking off, and I said, Leslie, come back. And Johnny Eagles go there going, I said, like, come back to the microphone. I said, I've got a question for you. She didn't know what I was going to ask her. She had no idea. And Johnny's going crazy. Come on, Ringo, get her off and come on. And I said, Leslie, I'm a part-time disc jockey at WFLI. I'm trying to work my way through college, and I'm barely making C's and D's. And you're a full-time artist. You've got the #1 record. You're touring, and I just read where you're on the dean's list at whatever college it was. I said, how do you do it? And she looked at me, and she looked out at the audience, and she looked back at me, and she said, well, Ringo, I guess I just know my professors a little better than you.
I was gonna say. I already knew the answer.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
Yeah.
Did that advice help you any?
Yeah. No.
No, I know, and
But she was sharp.
Yeah, definitely. It's a Leslie thing. You know.
There you go. Okay.
I've been with Tommy
I wanna
and,
get you on to
and
that.
some of the others when people have come up and said, I grew up listening to you, what you did meant. What is that like for you? I know you hear that
You
as
know,
well.
it is absolutely amazing. I was here for 5 years. By the way, my car has my license tag says JetFly.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Awesome.
But people still today will come up to me and say, Ringo.
I love
still
that.
Today. Still
Isn't
today.
it 50 years.
It's,
50 years.
It's just it happens once or twice a month.
It's a good feeling,
It's absolutely
right?
amazing.
Yeah.
I've heard radio people say that they really appreciate, because to turn that radio on, you're letting somebody into your house.
Yeah.
So there is that kind of connection. So
Definitely.
you feel it, yeah.
You feel like you know them. I have some favorite radio. You want me to tell you mine?
Yeah.
I love Howard Stern. So if anything ever happened to him, I would feel like I lost like a friend.
Right.
Honestly. Yeah. So nothing happened.
I get it. But that's the way people felt about Johnny Carson. You know, it's that same.
Sure,
same
Luther
thing.
for sure.
And
Exactly. Every day. So, and you guys.
Well, the reality is there wasn't nearly as much competition.
I know, it's crazy
back
now.
then as there is
And now there's
now.
Sirius.
A lot more
and everything.
stations and Sirius, and we were powerful with 50,000 watts. And we played great music and had some great DJs and good management. Johnny Eagle was a fantastic manager.
No, I miss like the great radio, radio stations.
Yeah.
Not all the
Yeah.
talking.
The local people.
And, yeah.
Well, we appreciate what you guys are doing.
It's been so fun.
Thank you for what you're doing.
We're having a ball.
So it seems like a celebratory day, not
Bill
a sad
Miller.
day.
You know Bill Miller?
How are you?
Good. Barry, pleasure to meet you.
Come here. Hey, Ray, come in.
Bill was right in the middle of this here.
I was nearly down.
So what day was it that you came in here for your birthday? You won when I was on the air.
Oh, that's true. When I was 11, he gave me a record.
Really?
He did.
11 years old.
My 11th. The rest of your record you earned yourself.
Here we go. I'm Leslie. Nice to meet you, too.
That's the truth.
I'm liking that Leslie Gore story. I think she spelled it the same way I do, too.
L-E-S-L-E-Y.
E-Y, yeah. Cool.
I missed the Leslie Gore story.
Oh, that's a
She
good
passed
one.
away.
Yeah, she
I
has.
know.
About a year ago or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool lady, it sounds like.
I'm going to tell one story.
Yeah, tell us the story.
I've got two, but one is a little off color. I'm only in the language.
That's the one we want.
That's what we want.
Who are you?
And I'm going to
Made
go
that
back.
very clear.
Tell us who you are and when you were
Okay,
here.
I'm Bill Miller. I came here in December 1968. I was 18 years old, and it was
Uh-oh, what's going on?
very, very much culture shock. Tommy Jet.
What did we have, Tommy?
Yeah.
This?
Yeah.
What is it?
I'll tell you what it is.
Confidential document?
It's pulse ratings.
Okay. Rating?
Ratings.
I don't want anything to do with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Tommy.
You do when they're these.
I do? I'll take your word for it. Thank you.
But
Everything Bill Miller says is true.
Okay.
that's right. My integrity is
Got it.
Tommy Jet can verify.
We're on the air, TJ.
All
All right,
right.
here we go. We're on the air.
Your
Okay,
story.
there was a character that a lot of people will remember, but not your younger audience. J. Basil Mull.
Jay what?
J. Basil Mull.
Okay.
You missed
What
a lot.
name?
J. Baz was a preacher. He had a TV show. He promoted concerts all over the South and in Cincinnati and Midwest. And he was based out of Knoxville, Tennessee. Died a few years ago, and J. Basil was blind. You know J. Basil. You remember J. Basil, right? And J. Basil had I think it was an hour-long show here on Sunday mornings, and he would come in about every 3 weeks and record the shows and promote his concerts at Memorial Auditorium. Johnny usually recorded it. I was hoping Johnny would be hanging around here. And so I'm 18 or 19, and I'm on the air, and I'm a little intimidated by being here anyway. At that point in my life, in this big rock and roll atmosphere. Tommy Jet's 28 years old, leading me astray.
Oh, I love it.
And Jay Basil came in, and he had a gravelly voice, and he said, Brother Bill, Johnny said it was okay if I came in and promoted the show down at the auditorium.
Yeah.
And I knew that was wrong. You couldn't do that. It was the afternoon drive, and he stood right there, and there was a big cart rack here. And I said, well, give me just a minute, Jay Bass. And we were playing records then, 45 vinyl, and I started Sweet Caroline by Neil Diamond.
Love it.
Da 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 da. And I introed it and said something over the beginning. And then I turned the monitor down, which was right here on the old board. Unbeknownst to me, Jay Basil had walked around and was over my shoulder. And remember, he's blind. And he's a bit of a shyster too.
Oh.
I liked him, but he was a bit of a shyster. I turned the monitor down, and so he was under the impression, I did not mislead him, he just jumped to the conclusion that we were on the air. And I said, here's Neil Diamond, Sweet Caroline. I turned it down, and all of a sudden Jay Basil says, well, thank you, Brother Bill. This weekend we've got the impressions coming down the auditorium. We've got and so I let him talk. And Sweet Caroline was a little less than 3 minutes long. Is a little less than 3 minutes long. And I caught on and wised up, and just as I got near the end, I said, well, thank you, Jay Basil. We'll all look forward to that show. Thank you, Brother Bill. I turned it back on. That's Neil Diamond. And Jay Basil was happy, and Johnny was happy because I didn't interrupt the music, the rock and roll music.
Cool.
But the other show, it's something I wouldn't say in front of my mother, bless her heart. It's not too bad. Jay Basil came in, and he did his TV show in all of his shows with his wife.
Oh.
Ms. Mo. Jump in here if you guys can add anything. And there was a minor bird out here.
A what?
A minor bird, right? It was a minor bird.
In a cage.
Minor bird. Minor bird. And it was out here in a cage, and it had only been here a few weeks. It was only here for a few weeks while I was here, and then it was gone. But it had been here for a long time. And the story goes that they came in one day to record the show, and somebody, probably Bud Bell, was teaching the minor bird some socially unacceptable language. So the moles walked in and...
Off color.
Is that something? Do what?
Off color.
Does it feel off color?
No.
Okay.
No,
and the minor bird says, the minor bird had a name.
I can't think of it.
But anyway,
a while
so
ago.
the minor bird said, all of a sudden it goes, some bitch! Some bitch! And Jay Basil said, now, Miss Mo. No, first he said, hey there's a little bird. And that's when the bird said, some bitch! What did he say, Miss Mo? Oh, never mind, Jay Basil. And she brought him on in, and the minor bird disappeared the next day.
Oh.
He was taken away.
He sounds fun. He sounds funny.
Yeah, he was.
The bird got censored. That's funny.
But that's it. And
I'm sure there's many.
Did you ever have to clean up after the lion that was out front in the lobby? The lion
preceded me.
A lion.
A live lion.
I had to clean
in the
up
lobby.
a couple of disc jockeys.
And they kept it here, and they had to clean up after it.
Why were all these animals in the lobby?
I don't know.
Mascot.
Did anyone tell the lion story? Because I don't know.
No, tell it.
I don't know enough about it.
Well,
there was a pet lion here at one time.
Johnny. Where's Johnny?
Recall Johnny for the lion story. There was a pet lion, a station mascot, which was a lion.
Who lives here?
Well, I can tell
Who
you.
lived here?
I
A lion
can tell
lived in the
live
lobby. That's interesting.
Now we're given the impression this was like Animal House. Right?
This was like Barry House.
Getting thumbs up from everybody.
the money.
You're getting thumbs up. But
there are holes in the ceiling.
I've seen them. Weren't supposed to ask about those. I would love to know.
Put there by the owner.
Now, there
That's all we can say.
were potential felonies were involved in that.
Somebody should have done, back then there wasn't reality TV, but this would have been a great reality TV show.
WKRP came pretty close.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I was going to ask Tommy about we got a bomb threat And so
more than one.
Yeah, and so they evacuate the building. Well, they forgot to tell Tommy about the bomb threat. So Tommy's living in the back in here, and he sticks his head out the door and says, "What's going on?" They're all evacuated. Well, no one remembered to go get Tommy up out of the bed.
He made it.
He could.
That's a true story.
Tommy to be on the air, and me and young Stanley was doing production over into the production room at that time. That speaker right up there don't work anymore, but what was going on in the production room, we found out, would bleed over just slightly in the background.
You thought you were hearing voices?
Yeah.
So that's scary.
His favorite station was a WKDA, I think, in Nashville.
Yeah, well, it was KDA.
And
I wanted
so,
to work there.
and every time it was time for a break or something, and when Tommy would shut up, then we'd hit the cart
WKDA.
Oh.
on the air, and see, he could hear it up here, but nobody, and he'd call people in here and say, he'd call me in here and say, "Do you hear that?" I said, "I don't hear nothing, Tommy."
The whole station was in on it. The whole station. The secretaries were in on it. It went on for weeks. It went on for weeks.
I like to get the staff fired over it.
He calls up Mr. Benns and says, I got to quit. Did you?
He said, "Mr. Benns, I'm losing it. I'm losing it."
Said, Jesus.
Tommy hadn't been right since.
They're playing something on you. We'll get it fixed. And it got fixed immediately.
Well, I'm glad the
what
voices
happened.
stopped.
Let me finish this off because this is important.
Okay.
You can, and the power of suggestion is phenomenal, really.
Definitely.
And if enough people tell you something, and you can find psychiatrists or psychologists that'll tell you that this works. If enough people tell you something, and
They tell you long enough, Tommy.
yeah, tell you long
You
enough.
guys, look what you did.
Yeah, and I was calling people in. They weren't hearing it, but I was, and really I was hearing it. They were hearing it too, but they, like Johnny said, they had it rigged to where it would play in here, and long story short, it got out of hand.
Do you hear any voices these days?
No, I don't hear
No,
voices.
I do.
Just his own.
I told him, I said, I gotta have some.
You got that right.
And I was getting ready to, do it all.
Well, we're glad you made it.
Yeah, so
We got through it, Tommy.
He said, we'll fix it. And
There's no more voices.
no more.
Not right now.
We're gonna wrap it up.
Yeah,
We're
I
gonna
guess
get
so.
back
Thank
in
you,
here.
Tommy.
So
For
thank
now.
you.